Thank you very much, Mr. Baldemaro, Mr. Wilson, the rest of the faculty and staff, you friends and family members who are here, especially the parents, and especially you graduates. I thank you very much for the honor of being here and being asked to speak to you on this very special occasion. When I first came to town about 20 years ago, the lighthouse in its state back then was meeting in some different churches, and our little church had a couple of classes meeting in the basement. So I've been aware of Lighthouse from the very beginning of its life here, and it's been a real incredible thing to see how the school's gone from such humble origins to this institution that we have today. And I think one of the greatest testimonies to what the school's doing that comes just simply from listening to the three students who spoke before me. And so I feel like I'm just going to come up here and say amen to what they already said, because that to me is really what the school is all about. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this. Well, what I'm going to do now is address some comments to you guys, to the graduates. The rest of you are welcome to listen if you like. But it's about 28 years ago when I was sitting in the same place you're sitting, and I can tell you a little bit bigger group, but I don't remember much of what was said. And so you may not remember much of what's said here either, but I'm sort of reflecting on things I wish I had known back then, and I want to share a few things with you. Thankfully, based on these speeches I've already heard, I think many of you are farther along than I was at the time when I was sitting where you are. John Paul Getty, the founder of Getty Oil, one of the richest men who's ever lived, defines success this way. So this is how you have success. You rise early, you work hard, and you strike oil. That's sort of what our world thinks, right? If you work hard, if you're diligent, if you catch a break, then you can be successful. And a lot of our world defines success the same way that John Paul Getty defined it, which is amassing a lot of money, being successful in business or things like that. It's ironic that John Paul Getty had 5 failed marriages, and even he would admit that that was not an area of his life that he had success in. Well, as you come to this important milestone in your lives, it's appropriate to look back on what you've accomplished and the success you've had. And it's appropriate to thank the people that have made this possible, the work that has gone in by your faculty and staff, and especially the sacrifices and the investment that your families have made to send you here. It's so encouraging, especially to see some of you have been here for your entire career. Really amazing. I have 3 children at the school right now, so I have a little bit of an idea of the sacrifices that your families have made. But even as we think about what's been accomplished, it's also important to think about what's ahead and how we will define success in the future and how you will define success in your life. Jesus' approach to this is very different than our world's approach. And I want to just read you a few verses from Mark chapter 8 and have you think about them. When he had called the people to himself with his disciples also, he said to them, "Whoever desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul?" Jesus' definition of success is very different from our world's. And Jesus says success is knowing him, losing your life for his sake, and serving him. And so I'd just like to think with you about these ideas for a few minutes. Jesus says true success means knowing him. There's an assumption in this passage, I think, that's built in, and that assumption is that every person, every one of us, will be pursuing something throughout our lives. It's inevitable. And depending on what you define as success, what it is you're pursuing, that will make all the difference in your future. Will you get to the end of your life, as one of your classmates has already challenged you, and look back and see a life full of meaning and purpose? Or will you get to the end and see a life that is not full of meaning and purpose? As Jesus said, those who try to find their lives will ultimately lose them. And really, this is what he's saying to us. He says, if you lose your life for my sake and the Gospels, you will save it. Pursuing Jesus Christ. That is the way to success. There's no substitute at all. What Jesus is saying here is that if you will pursue fame, wealth, power, the approval of others, those things we kind of readily say, well, yeah, those things aren't so good. I can understand why we shouldn't pursue those. But Jesus also has in mind here, if you pursue having a nice family, being a successful missionary, if you pursue anything apart from Jesus himself, you're ultimately going to lose your life. Jesus says in this passage, for what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? The answer that he hopes we see there is, it will not profit you anything. And what he's saying there is, you can have the entire world, but if you don't have Jesus, you have nothing. If you have Jesus, you have everything. I want to tell you that I did this experiment. I tried in my own life to find meaning and purpose and success by pursuing what I wanted. And that's where I was when I was sitting in the chair that you're in. I'm sure this isn't the case for you, but I thought I was pretty big stuff. I was going to an Ivy League school. I'd been recruited to play 2 varsity sports. I was on top of the world. And when I went to college, I learned something fairly quickly. And that is that there is always somebody smarter than you, faster than you, more talented to you than you are. And if there isn't, there will be soon. And suddenly, success in academics and athletics and being popular and all those things wasn't able to give me any satisfaction at all. You know what happens after that? Like, well, if that's not working, I need to try something else. And so you start trying things that are even more destructive. And it was at that point in my life where the Lord put another student who was living near me, a man who seemed to be completely at peace with who he was and what he was doing. And I struck up a friendship with him. And for the first time, started looking into the Bible and saw there that Jesus said that he had come to give us life, abundant life. For the first time, I grew up in church. So, I've been in church. I've been where a lot of you people are. I've been. It was the first time I really understood that I was a sinner, separated from God. And that without Jesus Christ, there was no way back. But I saw that Jesus had come and laid down his life for sinners, and had been perfect in all the ways I couldn't be perfect. And that through him, I could have a relationship with God. And so my sophomore year in college, I gave my life to Christ and started redefining in my life what success meant and what I was going to pursue. Jeremiah tells us, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, let not the mighty man glory in his might, or the rich man glory in his riches, but let he who glories glory in this, that he understands and knows me, that I am the Lord. That's what success is. I had known about Jesus, but I had never known Jesus. Now, I don't know where you are spiritually. I know that you went to a Christian school. I know that, for example, at the fireman's ball, not everyone there is a fireman. That it's possible to be in a Christian school and not really know Jesus. And so I urge pursue a relationship with Jesus Christ. He invites each and every one who turns from his or her sin and reaches out for him. He promises that he will receive you as one of his children.